A 72-year-old Quebec man has been sentenced to 12 years in prison. Maurice Nadeau brought more than 7 kilograms of heroin into Canada after traveling to South Africa. The drugs were discovered after telling customs officers that the suitcase wasn't his and that he didn't pack it. Mike Junior Boudreau is Nadeau's lawyer, joins us now from Montreal. Thank you very much for speaking with us. That moment that you heard the judge say it's a 12-year sentence for your client, what was your reaction?
First of all, thank you so much, Ian, for having me. It's quite something, as a criminal lawyer, those situations, you cannot never get used to that. The first thought that I had at this occasion was, what purpose are we having here by sending a 72-year-old in prison? The defense was well presented at the occasion of the trial, and unfortunately, the judge, didn't go in our path. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, in Canada, there are a lot of people that do violent crimes and don't get 12 years in prison. So it was an eye-catching sentence for us. How did your client react to it?
Well, it was very well composed. He even thanked the judge, at the moment where the judge said, good luck, Mr. Nadeau. Although, my reaction was to go and see him down at the detention, but it was well composed at this occasion. Of course, he has no priors. It was considered as a low risk of reoffending. The reason why the judge has rendered this decision was because heroin is quite, a problem here in Canada. All over, the place from Quebec to British Columbia, unfortunately. So that's why the judge has rendered this decision. Although we have appealed the verdict, we're thinking about appealing, the sentencing. We're going before the Court of Appeal on the 10th of June. I just hope that my client will be released pending our appeal.
Yeah, and so I know you're being careful about what you say about this case because you're going to be appealing it, and in case the appeal court judges are watching media coverage, you don't want to say something that's going to affect that appeal. But let's talk a little bit about the facts of the case, because there is no dispute as far as I can tell, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that he did bring in these 7 kilograms of heroin into Canada. The circumstances, though, what does he say about the circumstances of how that came about?
So the real question, because all the facts, the fact that there was 7.2 kilograms of heroin in his luggage was not contested. It was also not contested even from the Crown that my client went through the luggage before he left South Africa. But the question was all the circumstantial. Was it supposed to ring a bell in my clients? That was pretty much the questions, and that's one of the questions of the appeal. So in those circumstances, was the judge correct by getting to that conclusion that he couldn't possibly avoid that there was something fishy about the whole situation?
Yeah, but again, and I don't think this will affect the appeal, just in terms of the facts of the case as they were presented and accepted in court, just explain to us briefly, how is it that he brought this suitcase in with the heroin in it?
So first of all, it was in communication through very ill-intended people, on the web. As everybody know, we receive scam emails. Unfortunately, my clients, has answered to one of them. It was in contact, all the communication through, especially WhatsApp and through emails were deposited into evidence. And it was clear into the evidence that my client was manipulated. He was brought, to do that trip. Although, the expenses were paid by this group of people. Our pretension was that my client was manipulated in the course of this whole communication. I think it was apparent from the text messages that he received and the way that he responded to those things. There was not, all the time mention of any getting back luggage from the trip. My client had, he believed that he had won lottery. For the judge, it didn't make sense as an explanation. And I don't want to go through all the details, but, my client has a particular profile. It was back then 68 years old, is vulnerable in some sense. Some people get vulnerable through times. That was my belief. That's what I have presented to the judge. Unfortunately, it didn't get to those conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe finish with this. We have less than a minute left, but what's the lesson here for other people? I think the basic one is you don't bring back a suitcase, whether you think you've won a contest, which I think is what happened here, or not. You don't bring back a suitcase on behalf of somebody else into the country.
That was the message from the judge, to send a message to other people that would be tempted, to do into those paths. Although I'm really suspicious, or I don't believe that it would make any impact in society. As I said at the beginning, I don't think that we render anything to society by sending like a 72 years old. I understand that heroin is an issue in this country, and I think that rendering those harsh decisions against vulnerable people will not render anything. But if I can say, of course, we have to be very careful through traveling. Very be careful about trusting anybody that could have ill intent. Yes, that's something, and I just hope that our appeal and my office will do everything to appeal this case. So let's see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I so appreciate you talking to us about it. I am curious too to hear how it ends up, because in terms of specific deterrence, sounds like he doesn't need to be deterred in the future. And in terms of general deterrence, you raise a really good point. Will this sentence make any difference for anybody else? So we'll see how the appeal goes. Mike Junior Boudreau is Maurice Nadeau's lawyer and a criminal lawyer with Boudreau Avocat in Montreal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.